Literally probably put maybe 5 to 7 hours total into this deal to make over $50,000. Hey, what's going on, real estate family? My name is Mike the Negotiator. I'm called Mike the Negotiator on all social media platforms. That's because I simply close deals, real estate deals, wholesale investment deals. If you aren't familiar with wholesale and real estate, subscribe and like to my page because I'm going to teach you from A to Z how you can do exactly the same. Now, this particular video is how I closed on one wholesale deal and made a profit, a net profit of $55,000 plus one deal. I'm going to show you how I did it from A to Z, the steps and the whole process from beginning to close. And did I mention I closed this deal in under 28 days? It's that simple. Correction, it was actually 20 days. If you're unfamiliar with wholesale real estate means you will find a distressed property, a beat up property, an ugly property that looks really bad, is in bad shape, and maybe no one's even living there. It's vacant or inhabitable. And you're able to find the owner of the property, get that property under contract with the owner, who is the seller of the property. You will get that contract. Once you have the contract with an agreed upon price with the seller, you will then be able to find an investor or a buyer who will buy the rights of the property from you. They will buy the rights of the contract. So if the seller has a beat up and abandoned home that they want to sell to me for $100,000, and it makes sense to get fixed up and placed back on the market for, let's say, $300,000 or a way to make a profit, I will then get the contract with the seller for $100,000. Once I have that contract, I now have the rights to sell the property. So I will then talk to my investors or cash buyers who are interested in buying the property, fixing it up, and selling it for more. Now, when I sell it to the investor or the buyer, I will be putting a fee on that. So if I got the property under contract for $100,000, I will then turn around and sell it to my investor or buyer for $110,000 or $120,000. So that way, when the deal has finally closed, I will make that spread in the middle. The seller is happy with their price, the buyer is happy with their price, and of course, I'm going to be happy with that fee. So that's wholesale real estate in a nutshell. Follow along for more. Let me tell you about fire damaged properties, which is an unknown niche in the real estate wholesale game. Now, in this particular deal, I was able to make $55,000 and some change on this one property. The method I used to find this property is called driving for dollars. Driving for dollars is when you go through various neighborhoods and you look for properties that are in bad shape, burned down, look distressed, or just make the neighborhood look ugly. Chances are they are what you call a motivated seller. So this lead for the big deal that I closed was for a fire damaged property, and I found it driving for dollars. I was going through neighborhoods with my wife and came across a property that had boarded up windows. The crazy thing was, this was a neighborhood where a lot of houses were nice and they had no issues. I immediately hit the brakes and hit the reverse and took down the address. Once I took down the address, it was up to me now to find the owner of the property. So I went to the county records for the county that the home was in, found the owner's name. I was able to plug the owner's name into my database, which I skip traced or found the owner's contact information, such as a mailing address or a phone number. And in this case, I was able to find a live phone number for the owner. I called the owner up that same day. Now, that day particularly, I had actually got about 20 to 30 homes, which I saved the address, and they were beat up properties. And I was looking to find the owner of these properties. But this particular one was a brick home and it was just in a great neighborhood. And I said, something's really off. Something's, my spidey senses is tingling. Like, what's really going on with this property? So I proceeded to skip trace, find the owner. And the same day I called them. And it's a good thing I did because they picked up the phone and I told them who I was and I was interested in buying the property cash and closing quickly. They gave me the backstory that lightning had recently struck a tree in the backyard, which came to the house. The lightning, not the tree, luckily. The lightning struck the electrical, created a fire inside. The homeowner made it out safe. Everyone was okay, but they were now ready to sell. Insurance had cashed them out and they had the rights of their property and their land still, but they did not want to live back in the property. So that same day that I called, they said, Mike, well, it's kind of funny. We were literally just getting ready to start calling a few realtors. And so I said, well, that's perfect. I can save you a little bit on commission fees. I just buy the property as is. I don't want you to clean anything up. I don't want you to touch the property. So first things first, I definitely like to make an appointment. I need to assess the damage so I can give you a valuable cash offer that is real and something that I can actually close on. They said, perfect, Mike, that's fine. We set up a date for about 3 days later and I rushed to the appointment. I was able to meet the sellers, and they were actually calling me because I was a few minutes late, and I don't like to be late. But besides that, they were like, "My mother has bladder issues. We really have to go, Mike. We're gonna have to do this another time." I pulled up just in time when they were at the driveway. Apparently, maybe they were just trying to rush me, but they waited around. I did my appointment, my walkthrough, took my pictures, did my assessment of the property, talked to them a little bit just to build a little rapport, just to find out their headspace. Are they really ready to sell? This is a fire damaged property. You really have to kind of understand people's psyche. People are attached to their homes. This woman lived in her home for 30 plus years, raised her children there. Her husband passed away while she was living there. So it was a lot of attachment to the home. So I had to find out if they're really, really interested in selling. They definitely were interested in selling. The daughter was helping facilitate everything. Her husband was there cleaning up a little bit, but they were definitely ready to sell. The situation completely scared her out of her home, and she no longer wanted to live there, was completely ready to sell and buy a home somewhere else. Earlier, I mentioned that she did get an insurance check already, so she did already have the funds to move, but of course, she still just has this property on her hands. So, this is what we call an extremely motivated seller. She's just ready to go, put it behind her, cash in hand, and she's out of here. That's where we come in. Wholesalers, real estate investors, we are problem solvers. She has a problem, she has an issue. She wants money to solve her problem and her issues and to take care of it. And that's what we do. So I was able to go back and forth on the price. It wasn't too hard. We were kind of already at the same price. I gave a cash offer, told her I can close in 14 to 21 days. They absolutely agreed. I sent them the contract via email. The daughter and the mother agreed at the contract. They looked it over, signed it. So now we're about 10 days in of me meeting the people and talking to them, doing the appointment, sending the contract, signed contract. So now my next move is perfect. I have a signed binding contract. I have the power and the rights of this contract, which was in my paperwork, that I have the rights to market and sell this contract or paperwork in real estate to someone else if need be. So I now have the contract. The seller's just waiting for us to come to a correct closing date. We chose a closing date. Now it's up to me to market to my cash buyers, find my investors, market the property to them, let them know, hey, you can buy this property for this amount of dollars and you can sell it for this once you fix it all up at your what's called the ARV, the after repair value. So that means once they buy the property from me in this condition, put in the necessary repairs to bring it up to 2023 standards and the standards of the neighborhood that are selling at the highest dollar amount, they would then be able to see how much profit they will make. So I got the property under contract for about $178,000. Pause, correction, 174,000. Now, that was, you might think that's kind of high for a fire damaged property, but my numbers showed that the home could sell for anywhere from 400 to 425 to $450,000. The home had a basement, so I had a lot more square footage than a lot of the homes in the neighborhood. And this is some of the stuff I teach, so I can't really, I'm not going to get all the way into the details, but I have videos on how to find the exact value of the ARV or the after repair value. Now I have the property under contract. Next move is to find my investor and market the property. But I have to I have to do my calculations to find out what's a good number for my investors to make money, for me to make money, and to pay off the seller their whole asking price, which they asked for cash. So at $178,000, it was okay for me to market the property at $230,000. You do the math. That's $56,000 that I wanted to mark the property. Well, you go ahead and do the math on that. And that's what my net profit was because I found a buyer who wanted to pay exactly what I was asking for. Their numbers match with the numbers that I put in my marketing. I told them I can sell it to you for 230,000. You can put in this amount of work and you can sell for this amount in this neighborhood. They absolutely agreed and I was able to sell the property. So we're about 15 days in now, and I could actually close in the next 3 to 4 days because my buyer, he was super ready. He had his money and his funds ready to put in immediately. So I signed a purchase and sale contract with the investor, with the buyer, for $230,000. They had to put down a earnest money deposit of $4,000 to the title company in which I was processing this real estate transaction. So that $4,000 is kind of like a I promise we're going to close. If not, I would be able to retain that $4,000 for not completing their end of the transaction. So it's going to be a win-win for me either way. If they fall out, I keep the money, sell the property to another investor. So that's exactly how you want to position these real estate transactions, these wholesale deals. Because you might be wondering, well, how do I even know that this guy's for real? That's how you know they're for real. They will put down an earnest money deposit that will go to escrow in the title company. So no money is ever exchanged through hands. It goes through a licensed title company, title attorney in your state or local county. And it is a real estate transaction, 100% official, 100% legal. So now we're about 15, 16 days in. I have my seller, I have the contract, it's in title. I have my buyer, they put in their escrow funds. We pick a closing date. Closing date was supposed to happen within the next few days because remember, I told you it's going to take me about 14 to 21 days to close, is what I discussed with the seller. However, the seller actually came up and had COVID and they were not able to close on the exact date. So we had to put in an extra 7 days to the closing date. So calculating the weekends, closing landed on about 26, 27, 28 days total. And I met with the seller on closing day at the title company. And the seller came and they signed their contract to sell the rights to me. I signed my part of the contract. Now, my money from the seller or from the investor, from the buyer, was in escrow with the title company. So those funds are held up there for me to actually literally buy the property for a small amount of time in which the title will transfer to my name. And when I go back to the table, my sellers and I are done. And now I'm at the table with the investor, in which I now have the rights to the property. And so I sign my paperwork to sell those rights and the property to my end buyer, my investor. So the funds are transferred in which I wire to them that day. The money left in escrow that was left over was sent to me, and we had a beautiful, peaceful, and easygoing closing. It was actually one of my easiest properties, my easiest deals that I ever closed. And I checked my wire deposit in a few minutes, and sure enough, my wire deposit did hit. Now it just says 45,000 because I did have some other expenditures from other transactions that I did have to put to another place, but nonetheless, this is beautiful. I'm happy. The seller's happy. I solved the problem. I closed a real estate deal. I don't have a license. I barely learned how to do this without any experience, and you can simply do it too. So I just gave you guys a whole complete breakdown from A to Z on how this property actually closed. I found the property, called them up after a few text messages, appointments, and calls and emails. I literally probably put maybe 5 to 7 hours total into this deal to make over $50,000. Mind blowing. Beautiful. Wholesale real estate really helps people. I love helping people. I like making money doing it on top of that. So if you're interested, please follow. If you got any amount of value from this video, from what I just spoke about, and you're interested, like and subscribe. There's plenty more content coming. You can look at some of my old videos, follow me on social media. Let's get your first wholesale deal done ASAP.